George Santos. I don't know if you guys have been keeping track of the saga of George Santos. He is a senator from New York. Sorry, House rep. He's not a senator. He's a House rep from New York. And for those of you who haven't been paying attention, he's the guy who basically lied about every single thing that he's ever done. He's lied about. That's the guy, George Santos. He's the guy that said that he was actually Jewish when he wasn't Jewish. And then he said that he went to a certain school that he never actually went there. Said he was a volleyball champion. Didn't actually go to the school. Didn't play volleyball. He once got a homeless veteran who had a very sick dog and used this guy's story in order to raise money to save the guy's dog, and then just absconded with the money. That was something. He basically ripped off a homeless veteran and left the guy's sick dog to die. Yep, he said that he was never a drag queen, and then video and photos came out of him dressed up in drag. There's a woman in Brazil that basically said that he scammed her out of like all of her savings. So there's a warrant for his arrest in Brazil. Pretty bad stuff. And then now he's been indicted with something like 23 different charges for mishandling campaign funds, like taking his own campaign funds and spending them on fucking like an OnlyFans account and then like paying his rent with it and shit like that. So yeah, bad stuff. Now, if you remember a few months ago, a vote came up to expel him in the House, and he actually survived it. This was back when Kevin McCarthy was in charge. He basically survived it because the Republicans have a 5-vote majority in the House. They have a very, very slim majority in the House, because remember, everyone in 2022 was supposed to be a red wave, right? Wasn't no red wave. It was actually a very, very small red trickle, if even that. So they barely even like have a majority in the House right now. So they need every vote they can get, and that was the only reason why he survived this far. And now that he's been charged with all of this like financial crime and like campaign finance like shenanigans and stuff like that, the Republicans actually have finally took it upon themselves to they've passed a resolution, and they're going to kick him out. And I just want to kind of congratulate them, because this is very, very rare. Very rare. Especially for the Republican Party to actually police their own. Because these motherfuckers never police their own. I mean, you see the kind of shenanigans that they're able to get away with. George Santos is not the only person to ever be charged with a crime who is currently in Congress. No, it happens all of the time. And it's very, very rare that they actually expel somebody from the Congress. This would be the 6th time it's happened in the entire history of the nation. So it's not like they're expelling every single person who ever runs afoul of the law. I mean, to be honest, if they did that, there wouldn't be any congressmen left. We all know this is a fact, that being a senator, being a House rep, attracts a certain type of person. You know that old adage that absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's not exactly true. There's a variant on that, which I actually read once in Frank Herbert's book, Dune. And his version of that adage goes like this: absolute power attracts the corruptible. And that makes perfect sense. I mean, why do you think George Santos wanted to be a House rep in the first place? Why do you think he wanted to be a congressman in the first place? It was so that he could personally enrich himself, and that's exactly what he did once he got into power. Once he got in there and he was firmly solidified, he started basically just using his campaign funds like a personal piggy bank, ripping off his donors, ripping off the rich Republican mega donors that they rely on. That's why he's getting kicked out, by the way. If you guys haven't noticed, they don't really give a shit about any of this other stuff. He actually took money from the donors and stole their money. And the donors are pissed, and that's why he's getting kicked out. You know, if all the other shit that he did, no one cares. No one cares about any of these other crimes. I guarantee it. It's because the donor said, "Hey, this asshole stole from us. Get rid of him," and that's why he's being ejected. Here is a Newsweek article that I want to show to you guys. Congress full of felons, lawmakers screw lobbyists, George Santos says. What is this all about? Well, since he's getting 86th and he knows it, George Santos has decided to go scorched earth on everybody and has promised to basically spill the beans on all of the bad shit everyone in Congress does. This is Newsweek. Let's read a little bit of this article here. Embattled Representative George Santos, a New York Republican, called other members of Congress felons who are in bed with lobbyists in a Friday interview about the recent Health Ethics Committee report against him. I actually found the audio of this. Maybe we should do a stream where we listen to it. It's 3 hours long, so that's kind of why I didn't want to bring it up here. I'm not going to spend 3 hours listening to George Santos. Sorry, I'm just not going to do it. But I think some of the things he said is interesting. Santos has long been dogged by reports that he falsified aspects of his personal history while running for office since being elected to Congress in 2022, and by further accusations that he mishandled campaign funds. I love how, reporters have to be professional about it. Right. Falsified aspects of his personal history. This motherfucker lied about everything. Like, everything about his mother. He said his mother was killed in 9/11. No, his mother is still alive. Just everything about this guy. Is his name really George Santos? Is it Anthony DeValder? The guy's a fucking con artist is what this guy is. So I love just the way they put it here. Falsified aspects of his personal history. Anyway, on November 16th, the House Ethics Committee released its report on the freshman congressman, concluding after a 10-month investigation that there is substantial evidence that Santos broke federal laws by improperly utilizing campaign funds, including using them on Sephora, Botox, and OnlyFans purchases. Among others alleged infractions. Among others alleged infractions? What the fuck? Look, that says others. Are they having like AI write this or some shit? Seriously, what the fuck, Newsweek? Get your fucking editor and gear there. But yeah, so Sephora, like really expensive stuff. Fucking Botox. So this guy's taking campaign funds and getting Botox injections into his fucking face to get rid of wrinkles and shit. And then OnlyFans. We just, I hope you guys understand that we just paid for this congressman to masturbate. Santos maintains his innocence and has pleaded not guilty to charges related to a criminal investigation into his alleged fraud. In the wake of the report's release, Santos announced he would not be seeking re-election to represent New York's 3rd Congressional District in 2024, presenting a new opportunity for Democrats to potentially retake the House. He may depart office sooner than that, however, as a new motion to expel him from Congress is being considered, and given the ethics support against him may prove successful where past efforts have not. So that was part of the thing there. He said, okay, I won't seek re-election, thinking, all right, then maybe they'll leave him alone. Maybe he could get out of jail, right? This is how you can tell that it's not politically motivated. At least as far as where it comes to the criminal charges and stuff like that. Because this is what he's thinking, right? This is what George Santos is thinking. Okay. He's thinking, all right, they want to get rid of me. It's bad. I'll just say I'm not going to run for re-election. Then maybe they'll stop all of the stuff. Maybe they'll let me stay here. And it's highly unlikely that I'll go to prison while I'm actually a sitting congressman. That's what he's thinking. And the people in Congress are going, no, get the fuck out. Because you stole from our donors. So it's time for your ass to leave. That's what they're saying. And it's not going to save him. And this is how you can tell it's not really a politically motivated. Hey, Raph, how's it going? In Shoma Lives, do you think George Santos will remain in Congress because of the right wing needing to keep their numbers up for the House majority rule? Or if George does get the boot, do you think the Republicans will go overboard and casting out lesser known Democrats from Congress to even out said numbers? Well, what I think is happening is, I kind of mentioned it already. He is being accused of laundering money from, well, I mean, not really laundering it, but basically taking like campaign finance fraud, taking the money that he gets in his campaign and spending it on his own personal stuff, which is illegal. So when you run for office, you set up a campaign, all of that money by law has to be tracked and it has to be spent on your campaign. So if someone is not allowed to personally profit from their campaign, that's illegal. And the thing is, it happens all the time. For example, and there's lots of different ways that somebody can steal from their campaign to personally enrich themselves. Something that Donald Trump did and still does is that he'll go and stay at one of his own hotels. His hotel will raise the rates. Say it'll be like $100 a night. They'll raise the rates to like $1,000 a night. And then he'll come and buy out the whole hotel and charge it to his campaign. Well, all that money is going straight into his business. That's just something that he did like the entire time. He even did that shit when he was president. People in his cabinet would go overseas and stuff. Like there was a story about how Mike Pence went to Ireland on like an official business. And instead of staying at a hotel in the city where he was, he drove 50 miles to stay at a Trump hotel. And that's like taxpayer money going straight into Donald Trump's pocket. So that's one way that you can steal from your campaign. Another way is that you can overcharge them for shit. So what's her name from Colorado? What was the one lady who got Lauren Boebert? You know, the lady who got busted polishing the trouser trophy at a Beetlejuice play not that long ago. She charged an excessive amount of money in gasoline to her campaign. And saying that, you know, because we were driving around the state, and this is true, like this is what the campaign is for, right? You raise money so that you can afford to travel around. Well, she charged something like 400,000 miles or some ridiculous amount of miles in gasoline. Like, and it was something like, well, she would have to drive around the earth like 8 times or something in order to like burn up that much gas in 6 months. So that was another way. And it ended up being something like $32,000 or something ridiculous. Now, here's the thing. Did she have like a fleet of like 25 cars or something? I mean, maybe then like each one of those cars driving like, you know, X number of miles, that could be it. Looks a little fishy though, right? Chances are she just added a couple of zeros to it. Maybe it was really like, I don't know, 2,500 miles, and then she added a few zeros to it just to pad her own pocket. So that's another way. But you notice none of those people have been busted for that. None of those people were arrested, because those are like the legal ways that you can rip off your campaign. You know, another thing they do is that like politician will write a book, like their memoirs or something like that. Then their campaign will go and buy the books in bulk. And then they'll take them and they'll give them away as gifts and stuff like that. This is like a way that they can kind of rip off the campaign twice. It's like they're taking the money straight out of the campaign into their own pockets, and then they're also inflating their own book sales so that it gets on the New York Times bestseller list or something like that, when in real life they're the ones who are buying it all up. So there's all kinds of different ways that they can scam each other out of this money, that they can scam their campaigns out of this money. So just keep that in mind. Anytime you guys at home, anytime you donate to a political party, or specifically a campaign member, like, you know, a campaign of a specific politician, just keep this in mind. It's like they can basically take that money and use it for shit that it's not intended for. It's always better to donate to the party or to a third party, you know, something like that. But it's something that, and I'm not saying the Democrats don't do this too. They all do. This is just how the game is played. So this guy just got really, really blatant about it. But do I think that they're going to go and try to kick out Democrats? Well, here's the thing. They can try, but it's not that easy. I mean, it's only happened. This will be the 6th time, right? The last time somebody got kicked out, his name was Jim Trafficant, and I remember this. It was like 2004, something like that, like in the early aughts. A guy named Jim Trafficant got kicked out, and it was because the dude was a crook. You know, and he was a Democrat, he was a crook, and it was the same kind of thing. I mean, if you look up Jim Trafficant, the guy was slimy as hell, you know, Democrat, slimy as hell. But there wasn't all kinds of retaliatory expulsions as a result of that. So I'm not really too worried about that part. I'm just really surprised that the Republican Party is voting to kick out a Republican, because usually they never do, ever. They never hold anybody from their party accountable for anything. It's sort of like an unwritten rule that it has been in the past, at least, that, thou shalt not talk shit about other Republicans, right? That was sort of like the Reagan rule. And I think since 2017, since Trump came on, that rule's kind of busted now on the Republican side. And now it's sort of like every man for themselves. Anyway, let's get back to the article here. But good question. Thank you, Raph. Appreciate that. Moving on. This is what the guy has to say about his report that says that he's a criminal. It's flawed. It was designed to smear me, Santos said about the report. It was designed to force me out of my seat. That is the intention of this report was. The report wasn't a finding of facts. That's not exactly true. I mean, is he trying to say that he isn't being charged with 23 criminal charges for campaign finance fraud? Like, is that what he's trying to say? He's trying to say that's like fraud, that's not true or something? I don't understand that. He later added, within the ranks of the United States Congress, there's felons galore. There's people with all sorts of shiesty backgrounds. And all of a sudden, George Santos is the Mary Magdalene of the United States Congress. I don't want to work with a bunch of hypocrites. It's gross. I have colleagues who are more worried about getting drunk every night with the next lobbyist that they're going to screw and pretend like none of us know what's going on and sell off the American people. So, yeah. That's the thing. That's probably true. If you remember Madison Cawthorn, and you guys remember that guy, Madison Cawthorn was a one-termer from 2016 he was the dude who was paralyzed from the waist down because he got in a car accident or something. And he did the same kind of thing. He kind of came out and did a few interviews where he said, yeah, it's not what you think in Congress. There'll be a guy who's going out and campaigning about, I'm paraphrasing here, but like there'll be a guy that's going out and campaigning about keeping kids off of drugs, and then he'll do a bump of coke like right in front of you, or like they'll invite you to hey, we're having a sexual get together. And I remember that's what he said in one of his interviews. Oh, me and some colleagues are having a sexual get together later on, an orgy. Do you want to come? And and that was the thing, is that they kind of ruined him. If you remember Madison Cawthorn, they ruined him. They put out all of the dirty laundry on him. They were showing videos of him feeling up other dudes' junk, and another one where he was naked, getting a BJ from somebody. So yeah, they definitely ruined him, and he didn't get reelected. And they did it because Madison Cawthorn spilled the beans about Congress. He had the audacity and to actually talk shit about Republicans, about the Republican Party, because those were the people he was hanging out with. Those are the people that, when he was in these interviews talking shit about. It's well, he's not caucusing with the Democrats. He's caucusing with other Republicans. And so they got rid of his ass really quick. Fun fact about Madison Cawthorn. As soon as he lost re-election, he just stopped showing up. He, because the elections are in November, and you have a good 2 months, and while you're a lame duck, but you have to fill, you still have time while you're still in office to actually do work and stuff, and pass laws and things. And as soon as he lost the election, he just bailed. He just stopped showing up, didn't show up for any more votes, didn't do anything. His office was permanently closed. Basically, his constituents didn't have a congressman for 2 months because he just fucked off and said, fuck it. I lost, so obviously I don't have a job here. And he continued to collect a paycheck. That's the other thing. So if you had anything, if you're wondering what Madison Cawthorn was all about, that's what he was about. He didn't give a shit about actually serving the people of his district or serving the country. He didn't give a fuck about any of that at all. He never did. And as soon as he wasn't reelected, he just went off and did his own thing. He took the money still. He didn't stop collecting a paycheck from the government. He still got paid for 2 months of doing no work. I wish it's a good, it's a good gig if you can get it right. I wonder if Santos here is going to do the same thing. But here's the thing about this. Here's another article that I want to read through very quickly here. Not that one. George Santos threatens to ruin Republicans who vote to expel him from Congress. This is a raw story. This other article here is every single lie told by George Santos, but we're not going to go through that. I think we're going to save that for when he actually gets expelled. We'll save that one. George Santos threatens to ruin Republicans to expel him from Congress. Okay, George Santos refused to resign from Congress amid a second round of federal indictments, took to X on Wednesday to attack a handful of Republicans who introduced a resolution to expel him from the House of Representatives and warned that he could ruin their careers over it. So, apparently the story is the new leader of the House, Mike Johnson, right, the Christian Dominionist guy, went up to Santos and basically said, hey, you should resign, because if you don't, we're going to vote and we're going to kick you out. And that really kind of got his jimmies in a wrestle, and now Santos is pissed off. I look very much forward to seeing the anti-American attempt by weak rhinos to oust me without giving me my right to due process, wrote Santos, who soon after being elected was exposed for having lied about almost every aspect of his personal background, from his education to his work history. Remember, if I'm in fact ousted, fascism will officially be well and alive in the United States of America, and these members will be the champions of it. Did the balls on this guy. How the fuck is it fascism to kick out a fucking criminal con man who's like ripping people off and lied about everything that he's ever like said about himself? Like, how exactly is that fascism? I mean, if it was fascism, he would just disappear one day and he'd be in Guantanamo Bay with a bag over his head and we'd never hear about him again. And then they would scrub all record of him, and then anytime anybody said the word George Santos, they would also end up in Guantanamo Bay. That's what fascism would be. Fascism would be the government airbrushing him out of all of the official photos and stuff. They're not doing that. They're holding somebody accountable. They're holding someone accountable for being a fucking criminal and a scam artist and a liar, and for stealing from the donors. Remember, that's the biggest crime. All of this other shit that he did, nobody cares. Ripping off a homeless guy, nope, nobody cares. Pretending, saying that you're Jewish, you're not really Jewish. Saying you go to a school, lying about your background, lying about your mother dying in 9/11, right? Lying about your education, lying about your work history, saying you worked at Goldman Sachs and you didn't. Having a company, like suddenly getting $700,000 out of nowhere when like a year before you were making like 50 grand out of fucking help desk position and not telling anybody where it came from. None of that stuff. No, they don't give a shit about any of that super corrupt shit. It's because he stole from the donors. That's why he's getting kicked out. I do want to remind my dear colleagues who all but one have deep, long, troubling careers in politics that I will have a lot of time on my hands to return the favor in the most expedient fashion mankind has ever seen, he continued. I'm done with the hypocrisy and the projection coming from the same individuals for the last 10 months. Political warfare does not scare me. I find my strength in God, and with him in my life, all is possible. Yeah, okay. Suddenly this guy's religious. Get the fuck out of here. Completely fucking ridiculous. But I have one thing that I want to say to George Santos, and that thing is do it. Do it. Tell us. Do it. Yes. Okay, you're going to spill the beans on the Republicans? You're going to tell us about all the dirty secrets about the Republican Party and all of your different colleagues and stuff like that? Do it, man. Do it. What the fuck are you waiting for? Let's hear it. Let's hear it. I want to hear it. Okay? Do it. Do it. Do it. Just like fucking Emperor Palpatine in Star Wars. Do it. Do it. All right. Let's hear it. Okay. Hey, these people, what do you got to lose, George Santos? What are you going to do? They're going to kick you out, whether you like it or not. Go down fighting. Let's kick them all out. Let's hear the beans, spill those beans. Right. Let's hear the dirty little secrets for all of them. All right. Tell me everything that Kevin McCarthy's been doing. Tell me everything that Marjorie Taylor Greene's been doing. Tell me all of the dirty, disgusting shit that Ted Cruz has been doing. We know that they do it. Everybody knows these people are as corrupt as fuck. So let's hear it. Let's hear it. Why is Marjorie Taylor Greene's, why is her her net worth like quadrupled in the time that she's been a congressperson. Why is that? How did she get all this goddamn money? Tell us. Let's hear it, man. Which lobbyists are these people screwing? Let's hear it. Are they like all drug addicts and shit like that? Are they like, I mean, come on, man. What the fuck are you waiting for? Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Anyway, I think we will pick this one back up after he actually gets ousted from Congress. It's going to be a shit show. There's already people, if you go on Twitter or whatever, there's people defending this guy, as they always will. Every congressman's going to have people to defend him, blah, 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 blah. I'm just, what I think? I think they ought to kick them all out. I mean, if it were up to me personally, if I woke up tomorrow and somebody died and they made me leader of the country, I got to be king of the country or dictator or whatever, I would put in a law that says the minute you get caught lying, you're out about anything. I would make it so hard to be a fucking senator or a congressperson, nobody would want to do it. And the only people that were there would either have to be super duper careful and smart about the shit that they cheat on, or else they would just have to be clean. Because the minute you got caught, you're out. That's what I would do. And it wouldn't even be about criminal, it would be about anything. If you get caught lying on TV, you should be out. I mean, seriously, I don't see how it's in the public interest to have Congress be able to have people in the government, elected officials, who are allowed to just lie and get away with it for no reason. Shouldn't be allowed to lie about stuff, about anything. But I don't know, that's just my personal opinion. I know that will just never ever happen. There's no way in hell anything like that would ever happen. So that's why I get to say it without any consequences. But anyway, yeah, we shouldn't tolerate liars and scam artists and criminals and stuff. Not when it comes to being our elected officials. I mean, if the whole point of having a democracy is that we're supposed to be able to remove these people every couple of years, when the election comes up, that's when we're supposed to be able to remove them. And it's very, very rare that we should have to remove somebody from office. Most of the time, you should be able to wait, the 2 years or the 6 years or the 4 years or however long it is until the next election, and then they should lose. But that's not how our country is set up. It hasn't been like that ever, and it's really not like that now. Thanks to things like gerrymandering, thanks to just the political machine that not just the Republicans have, but the Democrats have too. It's almost impossible to get elected if you're not rich. If you're not rich, if you don't have those connections, if you're not able to get the donor money out there, because it's next to impossible for someone who isn't super duper rich or doesn't have the backers of rich people in order to get elected. It happens very, very rarely. AOC, for example, maybe. Right? Maybe. But even her, she had some institutional backing. She had the Democratic Party behind her when she won her election. She didn't win just with small donations from her friends and her family and stuff and her own personal funds. No, she had a political party behind her with a political machine, right? So it's yeah, when it actually gets bad enough that they have to actually remove somebody, it should be a big reason. And I think this qualifies. I think this guy, Santos, is really that scummy. If you look at what he's accused of, if you look at all the stories about him, yeah, he needs to be removed. And here's the thing, the last thing I'm going to say about this, right? If it was just one story, you could say that, okay, maybe that's BS, right? Because, that's the thing, when you become a congressperson, people come out of the woodwork and make shit up about you. They just do, right? And you could say, okay, maybe they misrepresent you. You have opposition research, stuff like that. They'll take something and they'll blow it completely out of proportion. It's oh, one time you got a ticket for this or that, and before you know it, they're painting you as a serial killer. We all know that happens, right? But it's the thing with this guy, it was story after story after story after story. And before too long, it's the shit keeps piling up. And these are things that are easily able to be disproven. and just piles up over and over and over. The guy's just lie after lie after lie after lie, ripping people off. There was a story about how he like scammed this woman in Brazil and like took everything she owned and then left her destitute, like stuff like that. And it's like, god damn, is this guy? And then you start thinking, it's like, dude, like then he gets arrested and charged with fucking campaign finance fraud, and you're like, all right, this motherfucker's scummy. So I think it's, it's rare, and there's a reason why it's only happened 6 times. And yeah, maybe it's time for it to happen again. I think it's all bluster from George Santos, and he'll keep quiet and hide away with his tail between his legs after he's voted out. Typical Republican cowardice. Well, yeah, but I also think this guy is going to prison. I think he's going to jail. I think he's going to get out, and, will he actually spill the beans, spill the tea, spill the coffee, whatever? Is he going to actually, like, start giving out secrets and all that? I don't know. I hope so. I hope he does. But, I mean, fuck it. Maybe if they piss him off bad enough, if you're in jail, what else have you got to do? I mean, you got plenty of time when you're in prison all by yourself, right? You can only, like, do the crossword puzzle, like, so many times before it gets bored. Maybe he runs out of like magazines in the prison library. Maybe he wants to, you know what he should do? He should write a book. He should write a book about his time in Congress. I'd buy the book. If George Santos wrote a book of like, George Santos, I'm a liar and so are they. That's what it should be called. I'm a liar and so are they. I'd buy that shit. I'd read the entire fucking thing live in a stream. I don't know. I just love to see these fucking, like, it's nice to see somebody actually get what they deserve for a change.
Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.